So when Cambyses after Cambyses had captured Egypt, he decided to humiliate their king, Psammenitus. And this is how he did it. And out of this attempt, in fact, the life of Psammenitus was saved because the way he reacted was not what the king Cambyses expected. It was something he did not expect, and because of that, he let him be, but for a moment. So this is what he did. He took Psammenitus' daughter and dressed her like a slave and put her together with other daughters of nobles and also slaves, real slaves, and give them pitchers to go and fetch water. And then he put Psammenitus and other noble Egyptians somewhere where they could see the girls passing by. And the girls passed by, and everybody was crying because that was a terrible sight to see the king's daughter and the daughters of the noble families being driven around like slaves. Was not a good sight. So everybody was crying except Psammenitus. Psammenitus did not react. He didn't even cry. He just watched, and that was odd not only to the Egyptians but also to the soldiers, the Persian soldiers who were watching. They didn't get it, what was going on here. Now, something else happened. Not long after, the son of the king and sons of other noble families were also driven by. They were tied with ropes around their necks and hands tied, and they were being led to a place where they were going to be killed as part of the punishment for the Egyptians, for the soldiers, the Persian soldiers they had killed when they were being attacked. Again, Psammenitus did not react. The Egyptians were wailing and crying because they knew those boys were going to be killed, but Psammenitus sat there like nothing was happening. And then it chanced that there was a beggar walking around. This was a beggar, dirty, seemed like someone who didn't even know what was going on. All he cared about is reaching out to anybody he saw and trying to get a few coins, maybe go buy some food. So this beggar was just asking the Persians soldiers to give him a few coins, the Egyptians who were there to give him coins. He didn't even try to figure out what was going on. So he was just begging. And then Psammenitus sees this beggar and he starts to cry. He cries, and everybody is like, what's going on? Why is this guy crying? The Egyptians, they don't understand it. This is just a beggar like any beggar. The Persian soldiers are not getting it. This guy did not cry for his daughter who was being taken, who was being used as a slave, dressed and being used as a slave. He didn't cry for his son, who he obviously knew was going to be killed, but he sees a beggar and is crying, what's going on here? So they give this message to Cambyses, and Cambyses is like, I don't know what's going on, I want to find out. So he tells them to bring Psammenitus to him, and he asks Psammenitus, why are you crying for the beggar, but you didn't cry for your daughter? And you didn't cry for your son. And this is what Psammenitus told him. O son of Cyrus, my own misfortunes were too great for tears, but the woe of my friend deserved them. When a man falls from splendor and plenty into beggary at the threshold of old age, one may well weep for him. Turns out, this beggar used to be his friend. He recognized him when he saw him begging. And this guy used to do very well as a young man. He was a rich guy. But now he was old and begging. And Psammenitus thought that was more disheartening than your son being killed or your daughter being made a slave. And because of his reaction, Cambyses decided not to kill Psammenitus. Herodotus tells us that if Psammenitus had just been calm and not try anything, it's most likely that Cambyses would have restored him as the king of Egypt. Maybe he would have only been required to promise that he will accept Cambyses as his overlord, because Herodotus tells us it was the culture of Persians to respect um, children of kings, even where they went and captured the kingdoms they captured, they still had some respect for the royal families. But then Psammenitus messed himself. He organized some revolt, and Herodotus tells us after that, Cambyses fed him on blood of a bull, and that killed him. I don't know how that can happen. Now, going back a bit, Cambyses had attempted to save the life of Psammenitus' son, but it was too late. By the time he was sending out a message that don't kill that young one, he was already dead. So, but in the end, Psammenitus died anyways. But yeah, that's an interesting story.